Okay, let's share what I did today with what I did. It's pretty cool what I made today, and it's my first time doing this. So what I did was I tried out Firebase Studio, and then today's prompt was to create a AI agent that helps with analyzing different poems and stuff. So it gives more analysis, kind of like IB English literature. That's how I designed it to be. So basically what my app does is that I would input a poem, something like this, a title, and verses. I just searched up a poem that I found on the Foundation website, and that I click deep analysis. Once I click that, I would get to the page where it summarizes and brings me to a very nice space. I can say I
At the
can
stables,
play
each
read
stall was
stage
labeled with a name.
recitation.
Biscuit stood aloof. I faced, always, invariably, his clockwork tail. Crab knew the salt lick too well. Trapezoid mastered stillness. A midnight mare. She was sternest and tallest, her chest stretched against the edges of her stall. I was not afraid of
So you can
Never,
see that
the
in this
chestnut gelding,
we have
so rode his iron
different things
haunches
today.
as
For
far as
instance, we
Panther
have the
Gap.
key themes
Never
here,
and I lived in
and I
Virginia
can
then.
see whatever
We could
kind of the
neither
keywords
flee
inside
nor
here.
be kept.
And I
Seldom
have
did I
different
reach the little
themes of
mountain
that,
without
which is
him,
what we usually
the
do in
easy
literature,
crests making
except what
valleys
a
of
human would
indifferent
do.
grasses. What was that low sound I heard, alone with Never? A lone horse, a lodestar, a habit of fear. We think of a horse less as the history of one man and his sorrows than as the history of a whole evil time. Why I chose Never, I'll never know. I fed him odd lettuce, abundant bitterness. Who wore the bit and harness? Who was the ready steed? Never took the carrot, words by my own reckoning, an account of creeks and oyster catchers. Our hoof house rested at the foot of the mountain, on which rested another house, more brazen than statuary. Let it be known, I first mistook gelding for gilding. I am the fool that has faith in Never. Somewhere a gold door burdened with apology refuses all mint from the yard.
Okay, so that's the end of the poem. I think it's pretty nice. The voice generated recitation of the poem is quite nice. It's read aloud pretty nicely. And now we have the key themes that I can highlight, which is pretty nice. It's kind of like a lit chart thing, except it's more dynamic. And then any word that I'm not sure of, I can click it, and then it would generate a definition for me. A trapezoid is a convex quadrilateral with two non-adjacent parallel sides. Yeah, of course I picked trapezoid because, um, yeah. So that's the idea behind this, is that anytime I'm not sure of a definition, I can click on it, which is much easier than me going to a dictionary and searching it up. So that's a pretty nice feature of this. And then afterwards, I have literary insights, which is kind of like a lit chart thing, where I just talk about the major ideas, like the poem explores the complex interplay between memory, identity, and the weight of the history, both personal and like collective. Central themes include the nature of difficult relationships, represented by horse never, and the enduring burden of past choices or societal norms. The speaker grapples with self-deception and misperception, particularly highlighted by the confusion of gelding and gilding, suggesting a fundamental misunderstanding of something's true nature or value. There is a strong sense of being bounded by circumstances. I think it's a really good analysis over here. Like it captures what the poem does, and then it talks about different interpretations, go into more depth of analysis, talks about structures, goes into a bit more. I guess it's a pretty nice thing that this works out pretty well. Now I'm going to talk about the implementation, and then I can save the analysis with this button, and then it would appear over here in the saved library. But obviously, when I quit this page, it's going to be gone. But for now, because I haven't stored it in like a proper database, that's kind of what I have to deal with. So how I made this was on Firebase Studio. I gave some prompts. It created this. I fixed it several times. And then this is what the final end product is. Inside here, how it was created, the code, is pretty straightforward, I say. There is these that are not necessarily more important. These are just sources. There's some docs, IDX, yeah, the icons, general things. I think the major codes of what I need are inside here. I have the poem display or definition, my packages. These are the libraries that were used. Libraries aren't that important, but guess this is just sort of what contains these things. These are the node modules. I'm not going to click that open. That's just way too much. But you can kind of see inside here. This is the web is kind of like exactly a preview of that. Like the AI was able to generate these code, which is awesome. Okay, so after that, what I did was that I got my GitHub. I did a SSH, and then I connected the SSH directly with my code here. And then I was able to generate my keys, connect it with GitHub, and push it to my GitHub repository here. So now I have the code and I can always work with this, develop it further if I ever want to. So it's a pretty neat application of Firebase Studio. I really like the application. It's pretty well done, I'd say. And enough today. I think this is a pretty nice thing. I think for English literature, someone could definitely develop an app like this, and it'll help a lot with analysis. Cool. That was something fun today from the Vice Colloquium prompt.